Welcome to the City of Meridian's regular City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, May 14th, 2024 at 6:00 p.m. We will begin tonight's meeting with roll call attendance.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Councilman Cavanagh.
Here.
Councilwoman Little Roberts.
Here.
Councilman Taylor.
Here.
Councilman Overton.
Here.
Councilwoman Strader.
Here. Next up, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. For the community invocation, I'd like to welcome David Reese from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Please join us in a prayer or a moment of your own personal reflection.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful to come before thee in prayer at the beginning of the City Council meeting tonight. We are grateful for our community, for the good people who are our friends and neighbors. We're grateful for those who spend their days in service to our community, and especially our first responders, and we ask thy blessings upon them and upon their families. We ask thy blessings upon those in our community who are in need, and ask you to help us who are in a position to help, that we may know how best to do so. We ask thy blessings upon those who are innocent victims of the wars in Ukraine and in the Middle East and elsewhere. Pray that their suffering will be alleviated and that a way to peace may be found. We ask you to bless us in this community, that we will promote friendliness and neighborliness and peace with one another. We ask thy blessings upon this proceeding this night, and do so in the name of thy Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we have the adoption of the agenda.
Madam Vice President,
Yes, Councilman Overton.
seeing no changes to the agenda, I would like to move that we approve the agenda as published.
Second. Excellent. We have an adoption to approve the agenda and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the agenda is adopted. Next, we have the consent agenda.
Madam Vice President,
Councilman Overton.
I'd like to move for approval of the consent agenda with the Vice President to sign and the City Clerk to attest.
Second. Excellent. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the consent agenda is approved. All right, next we have proclamations. We have 3 proclamations, so I'm just going to let everyone know the order. Okay, first we will have the Building Safety Month proclamation, and I will recognize Director Bruce Freckleton for that. Next, we have World Neurofibromatosis Awareness Day, and I will recognize Shannon McNall. And then finally, we will have the Public Works Week proclamation, and I will recognize Director Lorelei McVeigh. Okay, first up is the Building Safety Month proclamation. Director Freckleton and Brett Calder, if you could join me at the podium. Okay, better. A little bit higher up. There we go. Thank you. Whereas Mission Possible, the theme for Building Safety Month 2024, encourages us all to raise awareness about building safety on a personal, local, and global scale. And whereas each year, in observance of Building Safety Month, people from Meridian and all over the world are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. And whereas building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry are dedicated members of the International Code Council, a nonprofit that brings together local, state, territorial, tribal, and federal officials who are experts in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes. And whereas modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from natural hazards such as snowstorms, wildland fires, floods, and earthquakes. And whereas the city of Meridian is committed to recognizing that our growth and our strength depends on the safety and essential role our homes, buildings, and infrastructure play both in everyday life and when disaster strikes. Therefore, I, Liz Strader, on behalf of Mayor Robert E. Simison, proclaim this week of May 2024 as, actually this month of May 2024 as Building Safety Month in the city of Meridian, and encourage all citizens to join us as we participate in Building Safety Month activities and recognize those that help to strengthen our community and to protect us in the buildings where we live, work, and raise our families. Fantastic. I think we all can intuitively understand that building safety is critical for all of us. I would like to recognize Brett Calder to make a few remarks.
Thank you for recognizing this. Gives us a platform internationally and nationally. This has been an ongoing platform through the International Code Council, which is our adopting body for codes of building standards, 43 years. And appreciate the opportunity and the support from council in this, because we're kind of the in the shadows heroes in the sense that building safe buildings and the expectation for longevity and for sustainability. So again, thank you for your support.
If you'd like to join me for a quick picture with the proclamation, and I would like to congratulate you again. Great, thank you. I realize council may have comments, so I think we'll save them for the end of all three proclamations, if that's okay, for the sake of efficiency. Okay. I would like to recognize Shannon McNow and your team. Come on up. Fantastic. Thank you. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. Whereas neurofibromatosis, NF, causes tumors to grow on nerves throughout the body, which can affect development of the brain, cardiovascular system, bones, and skin, and affects all populations equally, regardless of race, ethnicity, or gender. And whereas the Children's Tumor Foundation leads efforts to promote and financially sponsor world-class medical research aimed at finding effective treatments and ultimately a cure for NF. And whereas patient and family support is provided by the Children's Tumor Foundation through its information resources, youth programs, and local chapter activities, and whereas much remains to be done in raising public awareness of NF to help promote early diagnosis, proper management and treatment, prevention of complications, and support for research. And whereas the Children's Tumor Foundation is observing May 17th, 2024 as World Neurofibromatosis Awareness Day to educate the public about this rare genetic disorder. Therefore, I, Liz Strader, on behalf of Mayor Robert E. Simison, hereby proclaim May 17th, 2024 as World NF Awareness Day in the city of Meridian, and encourage all citizens and community members to become informed and involved in the fight so we can imagine a world without NF. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Shannon, would you like to come and make some remarks?
Thank you guys and the council for recognizing World NF Awareness Day. I am a person affected with NF, and if you're affected, please raise your hand. Carson, that's my son, Carson. NF is a rare disorder that really has no cure and only one real effective treatment that they've found so far. So the Children's Tumor Foundation's mission is to really reach out and raise awareness and raise research for a disorder that causes tumors anywhere on the nervous system and really make a difference in our communities. And it starts with things like this. It starts with awareness like this. So we just really want to thank the council. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for raising awareness about this important issue. And let's go ahead. We can take a quick picture with the whole group if you'd like.
Yeah. It's my sense of insecurity.
Great, thank you. And finally, I would like to welcome Director Lorelei McVeigh to the podium for our proclamation for Meridian Public Works Week. Whereas City of Meridian residents have peace of mind with every faucet turned on, shower taken, and toilet flushed, thanks to the professional employees of the Meridian Public Works team. And whereas each often unseen essential worker, engineer, inspector, operator, technician, is committed to protecting our health, safety, environment, and quality of life through the 24/7 supply and distribution of clean, safe water, efficient collection and treatment of wastewater, and management of solid waste. And whereas the Meridian Public Works Department educates the community about the work they do through informative and engaging public outreach, and whereas advancing the quality of life for all is the theme for the 2024 National Public Works Week, and it represents the often unseen, steadfast, and heroic efforts put forth by the public works professionals across North America. Therefore, I, Liz Strader, on behalf of Robert E. Simison, proclaim the week of May 19th to 25th, 2024 as Meridian Public Works Week in the city of Meridian, and call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with and to recognize the substantial contributions which public works employees make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Lorelei, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. This is more people than ever come to the Public Works Proclamation, so I'll take that as a win. We really appreciate the support and recognition, like Bruce and his team. I call the Public Works employees heroes of the underground. So it's services that every single resident of the city uses every single day, and it takes a lot of work to make both our water and wastewater work every single day without fail. And that trust that the community puts in us for that essential service is so important. So I'd also like to thank the council and mayor for their continued support. It takes a lot of resources to make this happen, and they continue to support us to meet these requirements and support our staff in those efforts. So I would also like to invite everybody to the Public Works Week Expo. It's next week on Wednesday from 4 to 7 out in front of City Hall. It's a really fun family event where we bring out all of our big equipment. All of our employees put on little demonstrations and booths, and it's free and a great event if you're interested in learning more about public works.
Okay,
Madam Vice President,
Councilwoman Little Roberts.
Madam Vice President, I would just like to acknowledge everything that goes behind these proclamations. Anybody that knows me knows there's two things that are near and dear to my heart, among many other things. But our team, which we've mentioned too, with building safety and public works, I mean, our teams are just amazing, and we wouldn't be able to do these without those of you that work so hard and so diligently and love our city. And my other passion is nonprofits. And so thank you so much for the work that you do near and dear to your heart, because without people like you all going out and educating the rest of us, we wouldn't know about things like this and be able to support research and those that are looking to find a cure. So I hope you participated in Idaho Gives this year. If not, think about it for next year. But thank you all.
Thank you.
President Strader.
Councilman Taylor.
I just want to take a minute too, and I think I'm just going to say NF because I can't say the words, but never had heard of it before. So I really do appreciate that. If one person became aware and it was me, then success. So I'm very interested and want to look into this a little bit more, but I appreciate that. And also to our team, I'd be remiss also if I didn't acknowledge them, and as a public works liaison, and the good work that Lorelei and her team does is really fantastic. It's almost a modern miracle to see how the water gets to where it needs to go without any errors, contamination, things like that. And so I just think it's really great. So I'm glad we are recognizing their good work in this way. And I do hope a lot of people come next week. I'm excited to bring my kids. So.
Fantastic.
Madam Vice President,
Councilman Overton.
I'll be the second one. I'd never heard the term before, and I have to also say NF from this point forward, but I appreciate what you brought forward for us and the rest of the city to educate us. It's sometimes if it wasn't for what you just did in the proclamation, we would never know. On to the city departments. This has been one of the fastest growing cities for over 30 years. And what continues to amaze me is with the community development and the building department is how we maintain such a high quality of safety for everything from the ground up. And then you walk right over to Public Works and we do the exact same thing from the ground level down. I mean, the fact that you can keep up with our heavy growth and keep the highest quality of standards and safety as we do it is impressive. And you say thank you for our support, but we got to thank you guys every day for everything you do, because you're what makes this city great. We just get to stand and take the kudos for it. But your teams, your people are the ones that really do the hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, these were 3 fantastic proclamations. I want to congratulate everyone who received one and also let you know that you could stay for the whole city council meeting, but you are not obligated to do so. Okay, so if you have other things going on, feel free. With that, Mr. Clerk, do we have anyone signed up under the public forum?
Madam Vice President, we do not.
Okay, great, thank you. With that, we will move on to our action items this evening. First up, we have a public hearing continued from April 9th, 2024 for Roslyn Subdivision H 2023-0056 by Givens Pursley LLP. And with that, I will turn this over to Stacy for staff comments.
Good evening, Madam Vice President Strader and members of the council. This application was continued for Roslyn subdivision. The applications that are before you are for annexation and combined preliminary final plat. Tonight, the applicant is still wishing to remain with the 6 lots. Also, staff just wanted to reiterate that this is a picture of the piece of remnant area right away that staff directed the applicant to acquire from ACHD so we could clean up our map and annex those pieces into the city so they wouldn't be out there forever without being annexed. There were 2 written testimonies since the last hearing, one from Carol Sue Johnson and Brenda Violet. Concerns with the increased traffic flow and safety overflow parking on the street and the density proposed on the lot. This concludes staff's presentation, and I can go over anything that we need to revisit in staff's last presentation. And that concludes my presentation for tonight. And I stand for any questions.
Great, thank you so much. Fellow council members, and not forgetting Council President Kavanagh also, who's online. Does anyone have any questions for staff? Okay, great. I'd like to welcome the applicant to make some remarks for up to 15 minutes.
Thank you, Councilmember Strader, members of City Council. Elizabeth Keckeritz with Givens Pursley, 601 Bannock. With me tonight are Brett and Julie Bingham, and they actually would like to present to you this evening and explain to you why they think this is the right time and the place, and why this is near and dear to them, and would like to speak with you about that.
We're Julie and Brett Bingham, 2400 West Wapoo Drive in Meridian. We'd like to thank Madam Vice President Strader and City Council members and staff for your time to review and hear our application tonight on our Roslyn subdivision project. Tonight, we would like to present an overview of our project from our perspective and encapsulate into a few minutes its origin. As was stated, we're Julie and Brett Bingham. We're business owners in Meridian for the last 20 years. We are both lifelong Idaho residents and have lived here in Meridian for the last 24 years. We have 5 children, 4 of whom are adults now and who grew up in Meridian attending West Ada School District. So why this project? Our project began 3 years ago when we saw a need for our children, my mother, and our community. As mentioned, 4 of our children are adults who are currently attending or have graduated college. They've all expressed interest in moving back to their hometown here in Meridian where they grew up. However, their dreams of home ownership in Meridian have dissipated due to the lack of small home availability over the last few years. Our oldest daughter and her husband are recent college graduates and young professionals who have experienced this new reality due to the lack of small single-family homes like our project. They have ended up purchasing a home in Nampa. We know that home ownership provides opportunities for people to plant roots into a community. An infill project of small single-family homes like this development would provide opportunities for home ownership to our returning young adults and or retiree family members. This is the why for our project. Now we would like to address the project itself along with concerns that have been brought up from our neighbors and from City Council. We are not professional developers, and we have gratefully received help from Ms. Keckeritz along this way. But tonight, we would like to speak as the owners of this property and share our firsthand experience as previous members of this neighborhood. You see, we lived in the current house on Roslyn for 2 years, and so we have good experience while being there. First, we would like to address the position of the turned house on Lot 2. There we go. The position of the house on Lot 2 and the concern of its orientation. Our reason for positioning this house this way was that there are 5 large, beautiful trees on this lot. If we oriented the home on Lot 2 straight like the others, we would have to sacrifice those trees. By turning it slightly, we can preserve almost all of them, and it squares it up with the road. In doing so, it provides privacy, shade, and honors the history of families who lived here and planted those trees years ago. Second, fencing is not required with our application, but we wanted to address it. Our plan is to retain the current privacy fencing that is already there to the north and the east, and add additional privacy fencing to the west that is adjacent to Mrs. Laria's property, which is currently a barbed wire and electric fence. Because fencing is not required with our application, we have not decided on interior fencing between the homes, but our intent is for the HOA of this development to maintain all yards, flower beds, shrubs, trees, irrigation, and snow removal to ensure it is consistent among homes and is maintained to an excellent standard. Any future interior fencing proposed will comply with strict HOA. Third, there were questions and concerns about the sidewalk improvements from our home to Meridian Road. It is correct that there is a small portion of the street extending to Meridian Road that does not have improved sidewalks. These 2 locations marked in red have not been developed and so have not required improvements. After living in this home for almost 2 years, we did not find this to be detrimental to our experience in the neighborhood. In fact, we enjoyed walking through the neighborhood to the commercial developments that include restaurants, dry cleaning, and an ice cream shop. Owners of these potential homes do not need to walk to Meridian Road, nor would they want to, because the Meridian Road is not developed with sidewalks or biking lanes. The interior neighborhood sidewalks are a perfect way to walk to your favorite ice cream shop. Fourth, we would like to address the concerns our neighbors have voiced with our project, as well as changes that we have made to address their concerns. We began our project with a proposal of 7 attached units with some 2-story homes and emergency access coming from the common drive to the east that we have legal access to. We proposed this plan, which met all requirements for zoning and safety, with the assumption of approval of annexation of the sliver of land we were granted from our ACHD hearing. At our neighborhood meeting, we met with over 20 neighbors who voiced concerns about density, use of common drive to the east, 2-story sightlines, attached homes, parking, and trash. We listened to them, took notes, and then met with our legal counsel and city staff. We want to be good neighbors and address their concerns while still being smart about the development and the costs that will be incurred for developing. We landed on the proposal that you see before you. We believe that this proposal is the best fit for the parcel, while also addressing concerns from our neighbors, those being going from 7 smaller lots with attached homes to 6 bigger lots with detached homes like the rest of the neighborhood. We are now utilizing a hammerhead that provides emergency access for our project, negating the need to use the common drive to the east, of which we have legal access to. We have reduced home sizes to be within 1,300 to 1,600 square feet. This reduction inherently reduces the amount of people who reside in each home and is consistent with the homes of the neighboring neighborhood. We reduced homes from a 2-story to single level or 1.5 stories to maintain a less visible presence. We have addressed trash services and confirmed with sanitation department that they will be able to collect trash bins from inside the hammerhead, alleviating multiple bins lining the road on Rosalind. We also confirmed with the post office regarding a central mail collection box, which they require now. They chose a location at the top of the hammerhead because it is convenient and meets their regulations for forward motion of their vehicles. They also said the common drive provides them safety and protection from the main road while they are stepping out of their vehicle to deliver mail. Parking for each of these homes has a 2-car garage and a 2-car parking pad. We feel that the size of these homes is suited for young professionals or retirees, and that the concern for parking for more than 2 drivers will not be an issue. We know the concern City Council has regarding the overcrowding of the schools in which this project lies. We have lived within these exact school boundaries for many years with school-aged children and know firsthand the challenges our schools face. However, we feel that the impact of the proposed smaller homes also limits the impact of school-aged children to these schools. Brett would now like to address the concerns about density and annexation.
So I'm Brett Bingham. I'm a veterinarian here in Meridian. I was actually working the late shift last time, so that's why I could not be here. So I appreciate you recording these proceedings so that we can watch and hear your concerns. That's very helpful. You obviously care a lot about our community, which means a lot to me. This project has meaning for me for a couple of reasons. One, Julie addressed the personal reasons, but also professional. As a veterinarian, we own 4 veterinary hospitals here in the Treasure Valley, 2 here in Meridian. We employ over 105 team members. One of the biggest challenges we have for our team members is finding available homes for them to live in. So this is significant to us, not only for personal, but professional reason as well. And we have a lot of friends who are business owners in this area who have the same concerns and frustrations as we do. I want to share a quick history about our neighborhood so that you can see where we're coming from. The slides will be above. In this picture from 1992, you can see the original cul-de-sac, which is part of our application for annexation. You can also see the original 4 homes. In May of 2005, another home was added onto the cul-de-sac. In October 2006, the cul-de-sac was replaced with a through street, Rosalind Drive, to the new Larkspur neighborhood. In 2010, the neighborhood continued to be developed, and one of the original lots was divided in half. This is what it looks like today. The original lots to the south are highlighted in yellow here. In listening to the previous meeting, a slide was shared showing the 4 largest original lots, implying that our project was out of character with the density of the neighborhood. As I've shown you, these 4 lots were part of the original home sites and thus are the largest lots in the entire neighborhood. They are in fact out of character with the neighborhood, not the standard. For comparison, I'd like to show a bigger picture regarding density of the rest of the neighborhood. You can see from this map that there are 108 other homes surrounding our development. If we remove if we remove the original home sites, the average lot density is 0.124 acres, which within that red square. The average lot's density within our development is 0.122 acres per lot. So that's a difference of 87 square feet. So our development is in alignment and consistent with the surrounding neighborhood. Another question that came up was that of annexation. Could this project be viable without the annex portion? We had our designer map out the lot lines with this scenario. This is what the application would look like without annexation. There's enough room for 6 lots that meet all R8 zoning standards. However, we feel that our current development provides better lot lines for an appealing development, and it cleans up city and ACHD lines by annexing this into the city. Another concern was the common drive. As you can see, the 3 homes on the east in green are served by a common drive outlined in red, showing that our project is not unique in this regard either. When we lived in Roslyn, when we lived in the Roslyn house, we observed how the common drive to the east serves these homes very well, and parking was never an issue. Our development will comply by the same parking standards. A few other benefits of our common drive are the 3 homes in the back are in a quiet and private location off the main road, which is a desirable feature for many people. Our common drive is larger than the one to the east and provides a turnaround option. Not only is it more functional and safe for homeowners, but it also provides an interior collection for trash and postal service. This picture shows the common drive is wide enough for cars passing each other. It's not referencing vehicles being passed or being parked in the common drive. We have counseled with city staff, our engineer, architect, to make this common drive very functional and safe. It is compliant with all emergency service requirements. Our intent is and always has been to develop a project with quality homes that we are proud of and that add value to our community. We listened to the concerns of our neighbors and city staff and adjusted our plans even when our original proposal complied with all requirements. We hope that you can see our vision and why we have submitted this proposal. Having lived in this area for the last 24 years, we have seen the changes our city has gone through, and we understand the project can cause unsettling feelings for our neighbors, but we feel like this is the best thing for our community, for our neighbors, for the future, for our children, retirees. It's a good opportunity to use this infill land and improve our community. Thank you. We'll stand for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Brett and Julie. Council members, do you have any questions for the applicant? Okay.
President Strader.
Councilman Taylor.
Thank you. Thanks for coming back and the added detail to some of your presentation. One question I've been wondering about, and first off, there's a lot I like about it. Agree with you, the type of housing is needed, and I think I like a lot of what I'm seeing, but a couple of questions. You took into consideration concerns of the neighbors and tried to accommodate them. Took into account some of the concerns of planning and zoning. When we had the hearing before City Council, we kind of, some of us shared some concerns about it. I didn't see any effort to kind of maybe meet us partway with some of the concerns we outlined. I'm just wondering, why that's the case. And some of the response you provided was, a little bit more information, but I thought we kind of did the continuance of the hearing in an effort to sort of see if we could address some of the concerns that we brought up, but I didn't see that from you. So I just wanted to ask you, some of your thinking along those lines.
Go ahead.
Well, we feel like we addressed a lot of those, Councilman Taylor. We feel like we addressed a lot of the concerns initially when we met with them. And Julie addressed that, you know, it was originally 7 homes with attached, and that would be atypical for the neighborhood. I can see where there are concerns. And so we feel like we have already complied with a lot of the concerns that were brought before us. Financially speaking, it will be very hard to do this with, I mean, the only other alternative is to do fewer lots. And it just won't work. I mean, financially, it won't work. It just costs too much for development. So bottom line is, if this is not approved, it will stay a old home on 3/4 of an acre that's not developable. That's really why we haven't been able to make any more changes. And I think we have already done as much as we can.
Follow up, if I may.
Councilman Taylor, go ahead.
So the one area that I highlighted that I was troubled with a little bit was the access with this hammerhead. And I'm looking at your site designs, it looks like that access road into it is 20 feet wide. And just, yeah, so it's 20 feet wide coming in from East Roslyn Drive. You know, the average car's 6 feet-ish wide, but your fire trucks, your garbage trucks, those are 8 to 10 feet wide. Now, I know it's not designed to have parking there, and I know there'll be some signs posted, but it's a really dense development. I agree, the lot sizes match what's around. I don't have any concerns with that. But I look at that and I brought that up last time and we discussed that with the fire department, as that is a big concern that they have to have the access to those 3 in the back. So to that end, I'm not sure how I'm going to vote tonight on this, but I am concerned about that because it is a pretty narrow access point. While it sounds like it still checks all the boxes, I'm still concerned about some kinds of incidences or not having that access with that. So I just kind of bring that up and just whatever you can share with that. But that still remains a concern for me.
Elizabeth, would you like to be recognized to answer go ahead.
Councilmember Strader, Councilmember Taylor. Yes, the fire code, it does meet all of the city requirements and all of the international fire code requirements. And so that's why that width and size and distance was landed on, that it has been reviewed and it has been approved as it meets them all.
I'm going to interject for a second. I think there's kind of a concern, not only a safety concern, but there's a concern around parking, right? It's throughout the staff report. We know that people use their garages for storage. We know that a lot of households in Meridian have more than 2 vehicles. I was kind of hoping, actually, I think, did we have someone from the fire department online? Is it Joe Bongiorno? If you're on, I'd love for you to provide some commentary from the fire department on your level of comfort here.
Council President, we do have hammerheads similar to this throughout the city. And I always express my concerns with them because when it's a little tight-knit neighborhood like this, it turns into that's the RV parking spot. That's the boat parking spot. And the people feel that, oh, well, it's in front of my house. I can park there. It's safe. So it's a problem for us. Unless you have something in your CC&Rs or in your governance that I recommend towing. If someone is parked on that blue section, they get towed because that's how much of a problem I feel they are. So we have this all over the city. It can be done right, but like everybody says, you mentioned it yourself, that people don't use their garages to put cars in anymore. That's their storage units. And, I had 2 high school girls and we had 4 cars. And so if your garage is full of stuff, where are the other 2 cars going to go? There is no guest parking in here. So now you have 6 houses with Christmas, Easter, pick a holiday, there's nowhere for people to park. They're automatically going to park in that blue spot. And then if we get called when their turkey fryer catches fire, it's going to be a problem. So yes, it does meet the fire code, but it's not the best solution for the scenario.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Chief. And then Council President Cavanagh, I saw you unmute yourself. I just wanted to check if you had a question or comment.
No, thank you, Vice President
Can you
Strader.
speak up just a little bit? It's kind of hard to
Sure
hear.
can. Is that any better?
A little bit, yeah.
This is a great compliment that people say they can't hear me. I'm loving this. I don't have any questions. My fellow council members have asked, and the applicant has addressed them. I wanted to commend the Binghams for really coming this evening tonight and presenting their application on their own. Oftentimes we will get an applicant, we'll send something for a continuance to give them an opportunity to take another crack. Sometimes it changes, and I appreciate at least this evening that you came back and said, hey, we don't want to make any changes. We're going to keep our project as we envisioned it based on the feedback. And for you to come and do that as individuals is to be commended. So I want to thank you for coming and doing that this evening.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. All right, this is a public hearing. First, I'd like to check, are there any HOA leaders in the room that are speaking on behalf of a group? You are recognized for up to 10 minutes. Come on up. Please remember to state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Ken Freeze. I live at 195 East Roslyn Drive. And I'm here speaking on behalf on the San Gorgino HOA. I see that they didn't change after a number of changes were asked for. The development, as I said in my last presentation, I don't feel it's within the future land use. It is out of character, and I'll show you how. Too many units and common driveway just makes it unsafe. I'm not going to dwell too much on the comprehensive plan, except, I think it's a real shame that there's this plan out there that seems to be stifled and roadblocked because of legacy rules and zoning and whatnot. I don't know what can be done about that in the future, but it seems a real shame that there's this beautiful plan for what Meridian could be and should be that seems to be blocked at every turn. This is what the comprehensive plan shows for this area, and you can see that this lot's right in the middle of it. These lots right now currently would fall within what the comprehensive plan calls for, which is R2. So this is their plan. They've shown it to you a lot. I want to say one thing though. If you look at the common driveway that's to the east, that's for the other HOA. In the event of a fire trucks wouldn't even need to use that road, that common driveway, because there's complete access from the road on the other side. So that's very different than what we have with the other three units in their plan. In their plan, if that road's blocked, fire units can't get to it, or they're going to have to drag some hoses off an awful long ways. And an EMT unit wouldn't be able to get to it either. Something else I noticed was that a couple of the council members last time were doing a little bit of math and thought that the density was denser than 8 per acre. And I added up some numbers, and some of the numbers don't add up. I came up with a difference of 21 square feet. Now, granted, it's just 21 square feet. It's 21 square feet in their favor, but has to wonder, where else are the numbers wrong on this plat, especially when they're wrong in their favor. So this is the neighborhood, this is the street. All these lots currently are over 5,000, and most are over 6,000 square feet, with the ones directly across the street just under 12,000 feet to 16,000 square feet. That's the neighborhood. They can show you homes all over the place, show you how dense they are, but I'm talking about the immediate area. I found it very interesting, based on the comments from the last meeting, that the April 9th plat was the same plat tonight. Didn't make any effort to make any changes. In fact, when they were showing the elevations, they still had cars parked in the driveway. So on the 9th, Councilmember Carvener, our role as a council is to listen to both sides, look at the map, look at the zoning, and see what's entitled, and make a decision about what's best for our community. Councilman Slater, Councilmember Slater, talking about the current zoning, you said it's been a long time and we've changed the direction that we're going as a city. I don't feel that this is an appropriate transition for the neighborhood. Councilman Overton's, I cannot in good conscience approve a development that's going to be R8, that's going to be driving through low-density residential roads out to Meridian Road. 3 or even 4 of that's as much as I would ever give a yes vote for on this project. Councilman Taylor's talking about the Hammerhead common driveway. The public safety component of this really does concern me, which he echoed again tonight. And Councilman Roberts' comments, I don't feel in this case it's the best fit after what's around it, especially 5 acres, but it doesn't seem like it's going to change any time soon. I hope you come back with something that works for everyone. I think that we would like to see that. And then our representative from the fire department, whose last name I won't try to butcher, because I'm sure I would, he echoed again tonight about the parking. Hey, that's where I'm going to park my boat. He says it's always been a concern. Hammerheads, common driveways are always a problem. I don't like them because they turn into parking places, which he echoed again tonight. I presented this last time. You know, cutting this project from 6 homes to 3 homes is not going to have any effect on the housing market in Meridian. You all have seen all the homes that are being built. Even if this were to be 6 homes, it's like adding a drop of water to a swimming pool. It's not going to have that much effect on the housing market, if any at all. It would fit very nicely in the neighborhood as it sits right now. This would be in character. But I did go a step further. I tried to put in 4 homes. Now, I would hope that their architectural firm could do a better job at squeezing the 4 homes in than I did, but I was able to do it, so I would think they would be able to do it. All the homes still have street access for emergency vehicles. Maybe a bit less attractive, but it's closer to Meridian's own comprehensive plan for and future use, land use. And you can see this is how it would fit on the street. There'd be better trash and mail pickup, room off street for any parking when the residents there decide to have a party, plenty of parking. The HOA is not against developing. I just showed you 2 different examples that the HOA would definitely support. 6 homes is just wrong for this. There's much safer ways to develop this property. Fewer homes would fit into the surrounding neighborhood. We ask that the request to annex the 0.014 acres of land be rejected until suitable plans are presented to the council. Got some closing thoughts for you. I worked with a guy. He was a Coast Guard officer. He was a commander. His name was Jack Harden, and he had been an investigator on the NTSB. And we were talking about accidents. And he made a statement that I didn't understand. He said, there is no such thing as human error, just poor designs that allow errors to be made. This hammerhead and virtually any common driveways are poor designs and shouldn't be allowed in the city. The design needlessly puts lives at risk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeze. Council, do you have any questions?
Council Vice President Strader.
Council President Cavanagh.
Thank you. Mr. Freeze, as always, appreciate your presentation. I hope your HOA gives you like a plate of cookies or something. That was a very well put together presentation. Just one question for you to kind of get where you and your homeowners association stands. To the annexation point that you're recommending that we deny, should the council take up your recommendation and deny that annexation, the applicant still has some current entitled rights, and they feel that they could move forth and develop 6 homes as presented. I think I asked you this question last time you were before us, but taking all that into consideration, you still feel that the council should deny that small annexation request that was recommended by our planning department.
Yes, I think it should be denied until they present a plan that is suitable to the council. You mentioned about the right to develop it, and I agree they have a right to develop it. However, zoning rules and laws and all these things, they can never be 100% of the time. That's why something like all these come before the council, because it needs to be looked at by people. And people need to look and see what will work, what's safe, and what's the best for the people who are going to buy these homes. If all you had to do was go by the zoning rules or laws, then you wouldn't even need to bring it before the council. You just have it go through planning. Planning looks at it, legal looks at it, and it gets stamped and it gets built. That's not the way things are done in America. And that's why something like a plan like this comes before a council to make a final decision, so that real people can do the weights and balances and figure out what is really the best, in spite of what maybe all the codes and having all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted properly.
Thank you. Okay.
Madam Vice President.
Councilwoman Little Roberts.
Vice President, Mr. Freeze, thank you so much for your presentation. I'm not as familiar with that area as I should be. So when you named your HOA, I did not know where it is in relation to the property.
It is the 3 houses that are right to the east that adjoin this property.
Okay.
And in fact, had at one time been part of that property.
Thank you, sir.
And when it was basically subdivided, the person that I talked to that had owned that, he was going to build a home there and decided it was going to be too expensive, sold it. He thought it was only going to be 1 home built. All the neighbors were told it was only going to be 1 home. Next thing they know, nobody attended any of the meetings. And next thing you know, 3 foundations are going in. Shocked everybody. So that's one of the reasons I'm at this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Freeze. Are there any further questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public who would like to testify? Please go ahead and raise your hand if you're here in the room. Okay, sir with the white shirt, come on up. Please remember to state your name and address for the record. You are recognized for 3 minutes.
For how long? I'm sorry.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay, my name is John Olson. I live at 5090 West Overland Road here in Meridian. And I am here in favor of the Bingham's proposal. I work actually professionally as a commercial real estate agent here in town. I was born and raised right here in Meridian. I've been here since 1981. My mother graduated from Meridian High School. My grandfather graduated from Meridian High School, and my daughter's graduating this week from Meridian High School. So to say that I've seen a lot of development would be an understatement in this area, and I have myself have been part of some of it. As I see it, I ran into Brett recently, and he said, "Hey, I've got this small development going on. I'm trying to get done. I'm a veterinarian. I heal dogs for a living. Would you mind taking a look at it and seeing what you think?" And so I said, "Sure, I'd love to." I looked at it. I compared it to the Meridian development laws and kind of the Bible that we abide by in this city in terms of development. And I said, "This looks great." I believe it should be approved. I don't really see too much of reason why it shouldn't be. And he said, we've gone through planning and zoning and reworked a few things and asked if I'd be here to speak. As I see it in Meridian, we've got a little bit of a problem. We talk about Meridian being a great place to live, work, and raise a family, and our housing costs are out of control. Quite simply, the opportunity to raise a family doesn't exist in Meridian if your household income isn't north of $150,000. Under current real estate prices and interest rates, these homes, I talked with Brett today, he said the goal is to land them at a price of about $425,000. With $25,000 down and a 7.5% interest rate, which is what things are sitting, you'd be looking at about a $3,000 a month payment. The apartments that have been approved consistently in Meridian, most of those are right now leasing for $2,000. So this would be a step, hopefully, from those apartments to maybe some single-family homes. As I mentioned, I was born and raised here. I wanted to raise my family here, and I experienced this exact same issue 25 years ago when I was married. We wanted to live in Meridian, and we could afford a $100,000 house, and it just wasn't there, so we moved to Nampa. The same house in Meridian was $140,000 at that time. But fortunately, my wife raised our 5 children, is raising them right now. My income increased, and we were able to move back. And we came back to Meridian as soon as we had the opportunity. We claim to be a family-friendly community. I wonder if we really are.
Ken, if you could conclude your comment.
Yes, I will. We have these rules that are in place to protect the property owners around us. And I believe that this project with these 6 homes and that $425,000 fit within what Meridian's trying to accomplish according to its mission and motto.
Thank you, Mr. Olson.
Thank you.
Council Vice President.
Councilman Cavanagh. Oh, please stick
Would-
around if you don't mind for
Yes.
questions.
No problem. Yes,
Thanks.
sir.
Just a quick question, because, and again, I'm remote, so I may not be hearing you correctly, and I want to give you a chance to correct the record. It certainly sounded like that you insinuated that if we were opposed to this project, that we somehow don't subscribe to the notion that Meridian's a family-friendly community. I too have lived in Meridian my entire life and certainly don't feel that way. And frankly, I've never heard somebody make that type of insinuation. So I wanted to give you a chance to see if that's truly what you were trying to state, or if maybe you
Sure.
misspoke, or potentially I misheard you.
Sure, yes. When and maybe I'm a little old school, Mr. Kavanagh, but I believe that a family-friendly community makes it so that people can afford to live here. And I just really, truly worry that Meridian is priced. I'm looking down at you, sorry, because I'm seeing
That's okay.
you.
It's all good.
I really and truly worry that we've kind of priced ourselves out of that. If you look at Meridian, our population is aging. And most of the people that have lived here and are graduating from local high schools and local colleges simply cannot afford to live here. The first group it happened to was the north end of Boise. Second group it happened to was Eagle, and now it's come to Meridian. If you look at the price of real estate in those areas, Meridian, in terms of the cost of real estate, sits about third. South Meridian sits third, North Meridian sits fourth. And so I really worry that we're pricing ourselves. For those that have lived here for a while, it's okay, sure. But for new families coming in, yes, sir, I do believe it's an issue.
Mr.
Council
Olson.
Vice President, quick follow-up.
Thanks for answering Council President Kavanagh's question. Just a comment, the gentrification has been a part of real estate processes in many cities for years. It's unfortunate, but it is a reality. And certainly our, national monetary and fiscal policy has created a lot of large asset bubbles, including in real estate. And I think it is a bit of an overstep to accuse the council of not caring about the cost of housing in our community. So I appreciate you answering Councilman Kavanagh's questions. Does anyone else have a question for Mr. Olson?
Can I?
Fantastic. Thank you.
make
No,
one
thank you.
comment?
Please sit
Okay.
down. Thanks.
All right, thanks.
Madam Vice President, if I may.
Absolutely. Councilwoman Little Roberts.
Madam Vice President,
Mhm.
John, thank you
Yes.
for being here. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Just off the top of your head, about how many homes are for sale right now in Meridian, and about how many of those are at the $425,000 price point or kind of in that ballpark?
I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. I actually looked at it today, and keep in mind, I do mainly commercial groups and commercial assets, but I did look today, and there were currently at 425,000 or less homes built right and south of the freeway, I should say. I didn't look north of the freeway, but where this development is south of the freeway, I looked and it was right around 40, I believe, is how many there were. And that was under construction or currently on the market.
Thank you.
Yes, you're
Thank
welcome.
you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Any other members of the audience or the public who would like to testify? Ma'am, in the yellow, if you would please approach the podium and please let us know your name and address for the public record. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I don't know exactly the proper thing. I am Jan Larea. I live at 100 East Roslyn, and I've been here 50 years. And I've been in that house 48 years. We are in the county, so it doesn't really, there is no, like Councilman Overton mentioned, there's no sidewalks and gutters from that property all the way to the Meridian Road. And it's the same, they came back with the same plan, and I have the same concern. We maintain all the property from our fence line to the road. It's mowed, taken care of, all the way up to Meridian Highway. They're going to be parking there. There's just no doubt about it. They're going to be parking there. So it's just too dense. I think they could get by with 3 or 4 houses, and it'll be great. I know how much they paid for the property. So it's, how much profit do we want to make? But that's not any of your concern. So it's just wrong. It's just too many houses and too many people up and down the road. And they go fast on that road because they think nobody lives there. So that's my concern. Any questions?
Thank you, ma'am. I'm just checking if there are any questions. Okay, looks like there are no questions. Thank you. Okay, I think there was another question. The gentleman with the glasses in the back, please.
Good evening, members of the Meridian City Council. My name is Eric Jensen. My address is 1763 Marcon Lane in Meridian. I'm an Idaho native. I grew up here in Boise and then moved to Meridian shortly after my wife Mary and I started having children 20 years ago. My business is also located here in Meridian, and I'm proud to say that I live, work, and play in Meridian every day. I've also spent many years in the past volunteering on various Meridian City boards and committees. Through that time, I've had the pleasure of watching as the city has grown into one of the best places, in my opinion, to live in the entire valley. Part of what attracted us to Meridian back then was that it was the center of the valley, which was convenient for me and my real estate business. But also, it was an area that we could afford a home here in Meridian as a young family raising our children. Today, as a real estate broker with 25 years of experience representing buyers and sellers around the valley, I see a growing shortage of smaller, reasonably priced homes that are similar to what me and my family purchased 20 years ago. Having access to all of the sales data, I thought it might be beneficial to share with you some of the challenges that are facing these young professionals or retirees that may be looking for a smaller, low-maintenance, detached home that they can call their own. So as of today, there's only one home for sale between 1,200 and 1,700 square feet on a smaller, low-maintenance lot within a 1-mile radius of the proposed development. Expanding my search to the entire area of Meridian, there's only 8 homes that fall within that same criteria that somebody could purchase right now. In the last year, within that same 1-mile radius, there were only 13 homes, which were were sold, and these homes sold in an average of 10 days, which is approximately 80% faster than the county average of 49 days, which to me means that there's an outsized demand for homes like the ones that are being proposed in the Roslyn subdivision. This location is an ideal spot for an infill project like this. It's an efficient use of the existing urban space. It reduces urban sprawl. It's got great walkability to stores, restaurants, and amenities, and immediate access to the freeway. It doesn't pose any additional burden on any of the infrastructure that's already there, in my opinion. And my understanding is that it's still well within the density guidelines for the comprehensive plan. For these reasons, I'm in favor of approval for the proposed Rosalind subdivision. And if there's any questions, I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Jensen? Okay, I don't see any questions. Thank you. Okay, sir in the green.
Thank you. My name is Nick Nosler, and I live at 215 East Blue Lark Court in Meridian. I share a fence on the north side of this property, and I applaud the Binghams. I said this in March at the Planning and Zoning Commission for going from 7 townhomes down to 6 single family. I think some of that was they were never going to get 7 townhomes probably approved, but they did listen to us in that sense. It's still, you know, by my math, violates the R8 zoning barely, but it does. But I know that's not exactly a hard and fast rule. But from my perspective, I know some of the neighbors might disagree with me, but if it was 5 single family homes, there'd be no argument for me because it complies with the zoning, the need for, you know, smaller single family homes. As someone that's moved here relatively recently, the cost of homes were skyrocketing as we moved here, and understand how those price points can accelerate quite quickly. So understand the need for more homes, especially at this price point. I also understand the need to return on investment that the Binghams made, and I respect that and applaud them for taking the risk and trying to do this. I just think it would be better at 4 to 5 homes, given the current zoning and just the construction, or excuse me, the design of what they're using in terms of the roads. My brother-in-law and cousin are both firefighters in Omaha. I work in wildland fire, and so, you know, first responders and emergency services are always on my mind, and that always gives me pause to see those sort of designs. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, thanks. Okay, checking if there are any other folks in the room who would like to testify. Okay, going once, going twice. And is there anyone online? If you are online, please go ahead and use the raise your hand feature on the Zoom platform to indicate if you would like to testify. Mr. Clerk, do we have anybody? I don't see anyone online, but do you see anyone?
Madam Vice President, we have one name I don't recognize, but they're not raising their hand.
Okay. Again, you have a second if you'd like to raise your hand. If not, okay. Thank you. All right. Council, do you have any questions or discussion, or should we go ahead and invite the applicant to close?
Madam Vice President.
Councilwoman Little Roberts.
I would like some clarification. We've had a couple of different discussions regarding the piece, and this may come from Bill or Stacy, that they can go ahead and build if we deny the annexation, and as it is with just kind of carving out that piece. And I just wanted to make sure that we were understanding that correctly.
Thank you. I think Mr. Neri would be a good person to answer that in conjunction with planning. Thank you.
Madam Vice President, members of the council, Councilmember Little Roberts, the only concern I have is we had that prior discussion, is that the way the plat is currently situated, it is included in the plat design. So they would have to redraw the plat. Now, I would concede to Stacy, if they felt comfortable from planning, that if the plat were to be approved with a requirement that it have to be withdrawn without that piece, that it wouldn't significantly change the design, then you could certainly do that. But that, I don't know if that answers your question. That's my only concern, is I think the prior discussion was we'd have to redraw it because of taking that piece out of it. But I wasn't sure how much significance that piece is to the rest of the project.
And Mr. Neri, can I ask a question as well?
Sure.
So with that, if this application and the plat were denied this evening, if they wanted to proceed under the existing zoning, would they need to submit a new plat?
Madam Vice President, members of council, yeah, I mean, so if the plat could not be done without that annex piece, without making a significant change to the plat, they'd have to bring it back. Again, it would still need to comply with all our code and requirements, which may still look similar, but I'm not a planner, so I couldn't tell you if that piece could simply be excised out without a significant change to the plat as it's presented.
Thank you, Mr. Neri. Stacy, over to you. If that little piece were not annexed, would they meet the dimensional standards? Is that something you've been able to establish or not?
Madam Vice President Strader, members of the council, so here is their example. They would just have to meet the required lot sizes and the required dimensions for the lots and the homes on the lots. And it looks as though they can.
Well, there's a plus and a hashtag. Well, there's a plus and a minus that might be doing some heavy lifting there. So I'm not sure. I think in the applicant's closing remarks, it would be important for them to try to walk us through what the plus minus means exactly and what the difference is exactly. Thank you. Okay. Councilwoman Little Roberts, did that answer your questions for staff? Are there any more?
Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. All right. Seeing no further questions for the applicant or staff at this time, I would like to go ahead and invite the applicant up for their closing remarks. I will check with the clerk. I believe you have 10 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Madam Vice President, council members, Elizabeth Keckeritz with Givens Pursley. First, to address the lot sizes with the plus minus. This was not done fully dimensioned. It was done as a rough sketch, but not as an actual plat to be submitted. However, in looking at it, each of these lots is enough over that I think we could get there were we to meet with the actual architect, land surveyor, and lay it out. Because the minimum size is the 4,000 square feet, and so these are somewhat over it. So we do believe that we could get there, but this was just to be more of a rough showing to show that it still could work even without the annexation. I'd like to just briefly address Councilmember Taylor. You asked why we didn't really come back with with any changes. And the applicants here, they explained to you just the reason why is that they really wanted to come back and just try to give you a better understanding of why they had made the choices that they made at the time that they made them, and to try to hope to get you to understand better why they made these changes, why they didn't want to make any more changes, and really leave it at that. But that this plat, it does work. The annexation piece is at the request of the city. How it is currently laid out, there would have to be a little bit of reconfiguring to make this sort of work without the annexation parcel. However, we are very confident that it could work in the future. As far as the roads go, it is a road that's been improved up to local road standards. This is not like some really small, tiny road there. It is the road that was improved. All of the other traffic from the remaining subdivision, all behind it, they use the same road. It has been improved. It is something that is used regularly by vehicles, but as you heard, most of the people go up north through the neighborhood to get to the local businesses rather than going out onto Meridian Road, which doesn't have sidewalks at this point in time. Additionally, as far as the hammerheads go, they are approved throughout Meridian. The drive directly adjacent, that private drive, the individuals park on their driving pads or in their driveway. There haven't been any real concerns there. The other neighbors throughout the neighborhood are also able to primarily park on their driving pads. It will be signed, no parking. There can be towing signs as well. And the Binghams intend to maintain control and have some control over this for some time. So they will be there sort of watching these things to make sure that it really does happen. And I guess just in close, that this property, it is zoned R8. It has been zoned R8 for quite some time, and it does meet all of the dimensional standards for the R8 zone. Excepting those 4 lots, all of the rest of the lots surrounding this development are within, 80, 100 square feet of where they sit on these lots. It is absolutely congruent with the neighborhood. It meets all of your zoning standards and requirements. It meets all of Meridian's parking, access, lot size, all of those dimensional standards. And so we do ask that it be approved this evening.
Are there any final questions?
Madam Mayor, or Madam Vice President,
Councilman Overton.
debt in the bank.
I don't know about that one.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I've got to ask you, I've known Rosalind since about 1977 when I first saw it, and that was before it was asphalted. What improvements have been done to that road?
The improvements by the house have all been done. As far as continuing out, it's my understanding that it meets the ACHD minimum road requirements
For a county road?
for for their county road, yeah.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Stick around. Okay. Council, we have heard from the public. We've heard from the applicant. Do we have any discussion, deliberations, motions?
Madam Vice President.
Madam Vice,
Councilman Overton.
before we get into discussion, should we close the public hearing? If so, I move
Certainly
that we
could.
close the public hearing.
Okay. We have a motion, a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Public hearing is closed.
Madam Vice President,
Councilman Overton.
I didn't speak much before because basically I spoke before and nothing really changed. We're looking at the same application that was brought before us before. And my position hasn't changed. When I got on this council, one of the first things I got involved with was making sure that we don't approve a development that causes any more danger to anyone on our roadways where we can prevent it from the very beginning. Having additional cars driving on Roslyn, which is not built to city standards, it's not a city residential street, it's a county road. And even though we're the city, I still respect those areas that are in the county because they're all around us. And I've remembered them for the last 45, 46, 47 years. I spend my time working with our transportation planners on trying to enhance the safety of our roadways and our intersections. And I could never in good conscience approve this when I'm dealing with a roadway I'm adding traffic to that has no curb gutter, sidewalks, or streetlights. I don't like the situation the way it is now, but I wasn't sitting on council when those earlier decisions were made. They're there and we have to deal with them. But where my stance is from where I sit right now. There's a need for houses this size. I run a real simple exercise when it comes to projects like this. It's two-pronged. It's the right project and the right place. I think there's a need for projects like this, but I think it's the wrong place. And even though we're only talking about an annexation of land here tonight and the fact that you may still be able to build this regardless of what we do, I cannot support the annexation tonight to build this project in this location.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Vice President.
Councilman Taylor.
So I think the answer to my questions, why nothing changed, wasn't to just give us more information about why we were there. The real answer was because it makes sense financially. That's the only way it works. I have zero problem with that. I think that's great. I have no problem with that. I don't even have that much of a concern with the density. Sympathetic to the concerns from the neighbors, but that doesn't bother me. The school issue, that's not a concern. And the topic that was brought up about addressing the issue of housing and affordability. I mean, last week we approved hundreds of homes, and we took a lot of heat for that approval and continue to do so. So definitely, you'll hear me often say the solution to our housing problem is more housing, because that brings supply and demand online and it brings it down. We're a little bit of a victim of our own success of having such a great community because everybody wants to come here. And I agree, unless something changes in 20 years, Meridian is going to be the city of older people and not younger families. And that really bothers me and concerns me. So I do constantly struggle with that. So I do appreciate the idea of bringing some more homes on. In terms of access with the Hammerhead, again, I'm just going to repeat that. I know you can say that the HOA and the Binghams will watch it and help to kind of manage it, but this property will be here in 50 years, in 40 years. And it's going to outlast the people in this room. And I think the concern is still really valid. When my Meridian Police Department says tonight, we have a big problem with hammerheads, it sticks out in my mind. So I think I'm inclined to not support the application tonight, even though that probably goes against what I typically would say, because objective, if someone is objectively meeting all the criteria we laid out, it's really hard for me to not say then, yes, let's move forward. But there's a measure of subjective analysis that we have to put into this. And I'm just going to kind of echo what Councilman Overton said about this. It just doesn't seem like it's a good idea. And for me, it's a public safety component. I have no problem, again, with the density or any of that. I like the homes. I've been complimentary of that. But I'm bothered by that. And I don't in good conscience feel like I should say that it's okay to move ahead. So tonight I'm gonna be opposed to this application.
Thank you.
Madam Vice President.
Councilwoman Little Roberts.
Madam Vice President, I'm definitely struggling, gone back and forth. We've worked diligently over the years to try to get great infill projects, and I do believe that this meets that criteria. Definitely bothers me about the hammerhead. I understand that it meets all the regulations, but when fire brings up again, that doesn't feel like it's optimal as far as safety. And then didn't realize about the road that Councilman Overton has brought up from his years of experience with police. Those both concern me, but on the other hand, I'm also, like to honor the hard work of our staff. And we ask for this potential enclave to be annexed. And so that weighs heavily on me too, because we've worked diligently trying to get these enclaves annexed in. So honestly, I'm leaning more towards supporting the project, but there's definitely my concerns. But I think that their diligence in working with and creating an HOA and making sure that they work with fire for whatever would remediate fire's concerns, whether it's posted that it's towed or things like that, I think that we can work with that. So I will be supporting the project.
Okay, thank you.
Council Vice President.
Council President Kavner.
Thank you, Council Vice President.
Please get a little closer if you can.
Sorry, I was hoping these would help, but maybe not. A quick question for staff.
No, I don't think we can hear you at all. Just a minute. Just hold on a second. Chris is going to adjust the volume.
Check 1, check 2, better. There we go. All right. Thank you, Council Vice President Strader. A question for staff. Reading the tea leaves a little bit, sounds like at least 2 of my colleagues are in opposition. I remain opposed to this project. It's a bad project. we all may have different philosophies about the proper role of government, but I think we all agree that health and safety and well-being of our community is what makes Meridian a family-friendly community. And those are going to be my biggest concerns about this project. Is I wouldn't want my kids living in this house with the challenges with those streets. I think the challenge with the Hammerhead, boy, I hope there's no emergencies that are going to be needed. We're going to have a real big challenge as this project is built. Which brings me to my question for staff. Because the applicant said they will move forth with this project regardless, are there any recommendations? I don't know if we can implement a development agreement or something along those lines that give greater protections for towing, emergency response. I mean, candidly, I'll just be frank. The applicant says they're Meridian people. I believe that. They said they care about our community. They care about our neighbors. The right decision here is to withdraw this project and come back and bring something that's better. And because there's been a lot of insinuations tonight about our community, I guess I'll make one, which is that if you care about our community, you should withdraw the project and bring back something that's more in line with what our community desires. You don't want to do that. I think that we need staff to work with them to put added mitigations in to make this a safer project. So that'd be my question for staff. If there's anything that we can do around that, I sure hope there is, because that is the best worst scenario that we could explore.
Thank you. I'll go to Stacy first. From planning's perspective, what guardrails could be put in place here?
Madam Vice President Strader, President Kavanagh, and members of the council. So we can add Fire's comments about no parking signs in the development agreement, but Bill might have to weigh in on towing signs. I don't know that we can control putting towing signs up on the common drive.
Okay. Over to
Council
you.
Vice President Strader, one maybe quick question as well along that for Fire.
Mhm.
Could we require that these homes be sprinklered?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
You guys wish, that is another option you could do.
I like that. That's creative and might solve the issue to some extent, although I don't know the cost. Thank you. Mr. Neri, did you have anything to add from a legal perspective?
Oh, yeah, Madam Vice President, members of the council, I would agree with Stacy. We could certainly require signage. Because this is a driveway, not a road, we couldn't require towing off of that. So there's no tow requirements that we could impose on that. And I don't know, from Deputy Chief would know better than me on whether or not there's any minimum requirements to require houses be sprinkled. I know we've had that question when dealing with access issues regarding secondary access, but I'm unaware of any other project we've had of this size that we've required that. So you would know better than I.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Neri. But legally, is there any reason that we would not be able to require sprinklers?
Well, Madam Vice President, I guess that's the question I don't know. We haven't talked about that previously, and Deputy Chief Madrona would know better than I, but I can't think of one project of this size that we've ever required it. So I don't know what requirements might be a trigger. We haven't talked about that, and that hasn't been discussed throughout this project, so I don't know.
Okay. Okay, did that answer all of your questions, Council President Kavanagh? Okay. Just to add my thoughts, I also am opposed to this project. I don't think that this is the right project in the right place at the right time. I agree it is critical that we continue to approve housing in the city of Meridian, and we are absolutely doing that, despite a lot of challenges that come with growth. But in this case, I share the concern around parking and safety, and I think those concerns kind of go together, as well as, adding more density along a county road that does not have any of the, amenities that we would expect in the city of Meridian. I think it remains to be seen, and I think the neighbors probably understand this, but if this is denied this evening, that doesn't mean that this project might not happen. It's possible that it will still move forward. I think it remains to be seen, and it's a question about whether in fact, they will be able to meet the city's requirements, you know, with 6 lots and not that little annexed piece. I don't know. I don't think we received a direct answer to that question. A probably was the answer. So, you know, we'll have to see on that. But overall, I'm where Councilman Overton is, in the sense that at the end of the day, there is a level of subjectivity and just a question of, is this the right project? I don't think that this is the right project for this location at this time. So I think it sounds like we've got, with the exception of one person, I think we have some alignment. So I'll ask the council if there are some motions they'd like to entertain at this time.
Council Vice President Strader,
Mhm.
just to
Yes.
clarify, so obviously, I think we know where the council feeling is on this, but in terms of a development agreement with any additional guardrails, would that be, would we need to have that as part of the motion tonight to instruct the staff to work on a new development agreement with the applicant on that? I'm just not clear what's required next. This is a unique application. So can you clarify? Because I think there's a consensus. Obviously, we're not approving this, but if we are to ask for some guardrails to be in place, do we do that in the motion tonight?
That's a great question. Well, I think maybe before we go to that question, I would like to ask the applicant maybe one more time if they would like to withdraw their application this evening, or if they'd like us to go ahead and vote. Because I would like to give them that opportunity.
Madam Vice President, do we need to reopen the public hearing then on that?
My apologies. Yeah, that would require opening the public hearing again.
Madam Vice President,
Yes, Councilman
I move that
Cavanagh.
we reopen the public hearing to allow the applicant an opportunity to provide.
Second. Okay. Great. Would the applicant or the applicant's representative like to approach in a second when you have a chance to?
And Madam Vice President,
Yes, Councilman Cavanagh.
I recognize probably a lot was thrown at the applicant, and certainly if they need a few minutes to confer, if we want to recess for a few
Yeah.
minutes,
That's what I was just thinking. Okay, let's go ahead and take like a 10-minute recess, give the applicant and everyone a chance to take a bio break, get a cup of water, and hopefully we'll hear from them. Thank you. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We'll go ahead and come back from our recess. And I'd like to recognize the applicant. You could please approach and comment on whether you are open to a withdrawal or you just would like to move forward this evening with a decision. Thank you.
Elizabeth Kekritz, Givens Pursley, Madam Vice President, City Council members. The applicant would actually ask for one more continuance to see if there is a way to come up with a financially viable, smaller lot subdivision that really meets some of your concerns without having, that still allows the property to be annexed, which is something the city had requested, without having to go back through the entire reapplication neighborhood process, neighborhood meeting process. It seems like that's what we're hearing. And so that's what that is what we'd ask for at this point in time. If we're unable to come up with something that works for that, then they would intend on just withdrawing the application.
Okay, thank you for that feedback. Councilman Overton.
Madam Vice President,
Yes.
we need a continuance date before we move forward and close the public hearing.
Mhm.
I
Well,
was going to defer to the applicant, Madam Vice President.
Madam Vice President,
Councilman Taylor.
if you were to have a continuance, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, what's in?
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Just some feedback. I do feel like the purpose of the continuance last time was for this very purpose. And if I were putting we always are trying to find compromises, that work. If I'm putting myself in the shoes of the public, I think I would have a level of frustration here around the number of continuances. So let me mull that over for a second too, and then I'll check with other council members how they're feeling about that as well. Council President Cavanagh, you're speaking, but we cannot hear you. So we'll give you a minute to get a little closer, please. Thank you. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Yeah,
still. There.
I was on mute, boy, way above my technical expertise. So, and Elizabeth had sat down, but my question would be Council President Streeter, your feedback is exactly where I am. Many of the members of the public have been through planning and zoning, a couple of city council meetings. And I guess what I'm looking for is I don't want the members of the public to have to come to another city council meeting to learn then that the applicant intends to withdraw their application. And so I think some commitment from the applicant that they're going to either bring something back that is in line with the feedback that council has provided, that they've heard from the community, or notice of their intent to withdraw, to give the members of the HOA in our community that have been coming to these meetings, to keep them informed so that they aren't giving up yet another night to come down here only to find out that their intention is to withdraw.
Thank you, Council President Cavanagh. I think that's some fantastic feedback for you to comment on, please. It is very frustrating for members of the public to find out something's being withdrawn right before a meeting, so.
Madam Vice President, Councilmember Cavanagh, that I agree. That is a very good point. It is strange to look down on you standing right here. But yes, we would commit to withdrawing with adequate time to notice, to let people know that this would not be coming forward.
I have a further question. Will we be seeing an application with a reduction in density?
That is the intent. If they can go back, look at it, financially make it work.
I would highly encourage you to take that approach, of reducing the density significantly in order to garner an approval, if possible. Thank you.
Anything else?
Okay. Sorry, because Mr. Freeze, I will go ahead and recognize you quickly for relevant comments specific to the possibility of a continuance, please. Thank you.
Again, it's Ken Freeze, 195 East Roslyn. If they come back with a plan that has 3 or 4 homes, I can virtually guarantee the endorsement of that project from the HOA.
Thank you, sir. Fantastic. Okay, that wasn't, this is sort of related to a continuance, but I think it gives us all really good feedback to go off of what some folks would like to see. Okay. Okay, so 4 weeks from now, do we have some dates from the clerk that will work? Fantastic. Okay, we're gonna need to close the public hearing once again, and then we can entertain, oh no, I'm sorry, we'll keep the public hearing open, but I would entertain a motion for a continuance at this time.
Madam Vice President,
Councilman Overton.
we have dates of June 18th or June 25th for continuance.
If the applicant could go ahead and provide some feedback on those dates real quick. Okay. I'm sorry, you need to come into the microphone here a little closer for Dean and all of us to have an accurate record.
What are the dates after that? I have a long scheduled vacation.
Understand.
Those 2 weeks.
Okay,
Madam
Mr.
Vice President,
yes, Councilman Overton.
the date after that appears to be July 9th.
July 9th works great.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Madam Vice President, should we now close the public hearing?
That would be fantastic if you had moved to do that.
Move to close the public hearing.
Okay.
Madam Vice President, you keep the public hearing open for the continuance.
Oh,
Oh,
pardon me.
wow, we made the same mistake twice, Mr. Clerk. I apologize. Councilman Overton,
Madam Vice President, I withdraw that motion to close.
withdraw accepted.
Make a motion to continue file number H20230056 to the hearing date of July 9th, 2024, to allow the applicant to meet with staff to see if they can come up with a suitable density level for this project before being brought back.
Okay,
Second.
do I have a second? Fantastic. We've got a motion and a second to continue the public hearing to July 9th. Do we need a roll call on this? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And the application is continued. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. I know it's been a very long process, but hopefully we'll get it right. Okay.
Council Vice President Strader.
Council President Kavanagh, yes.
Thanks. Real quick, I apologize for being out of order. Sometimes we have an opportunity for comment before a vote. Just real quick, if I may, just a quick moment of privilege. You all know how much I love City Council. You know how much I love our community. I'm fiercely defensive about our community and our council. And sometimes that passion and enthusiasm bubbles over, particularly in a hotel room in Denver, Colorado. I allowed my emotions to get the best of me this evening, and I just would like to take a quick opportunity to apologize to the applicant, staff, the public, and certainly you all council. I'm always constantly trying to improve, and apologies for letting my emotions get the best of me this evening.
Council President Kavanagh, that's very thoughtful. I think all of us have positive intentions for our community, and it comes out in different ways, that passion, and including members of the audience, and that's okay. I think, robust discussion is fine, and robust defense of city council is fine, et cetera. So thank you. Are there any future meeting topics?
Council Vice President Strader.
Yes.
I promise, folks, I had a goal not to talk very much tonight, so I apologize. Just real quick, before we adjourn, I just want to take one more moment of privilege and commend our Vice President for doing an exceptional job of being traffic cop in tonight's meeting. This was thrust upon you, and you have led admirably, and just appreciate your great work. We're all very lucky to have you steering the ship for us tonight.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. All right. We'll try to keep this on the rails and finish strong. Okay. Is there I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Vice President,
Councilman Overton.
motion that we adjourn.
Fantastic. We have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned. Have a great evening.